Hello there, students. Thank you for being part of this presentation. Today we're going to focus on U.S. government and Unit 1, Foundations of U.S. Democracy, Political Systems. We will be reviewing the activities that are in this tutorial in order for you to have a better understanding as to how to respond to those activities. Our objective for this political system tutorial is that we will examine and compare historical and contemporary political systems and governments. Again, make sure that you stay focused on this objective because the questions that you will be answering will be having to do with this particular objective. This is page 5 of the political systems tutorial, and here is your first lesson activity. Directions. Read the instructions for this self-check activity, type in your response to each question, and check your answers. At the end of the activity, write a brief evaluation of your work. And the first activity. As you begin this lesson, think about what you already know about the U.S. government, both its history and how it functions. And this will obviously help you answer this or part A of this activity. Record your initial thoughts and understanding of the U.S. government in a table below. And the table, as you can see, is broken up into or divided into 3 different sections. The first section deals with structure and institutions. The second section deals with important documents. And the third section deals with guiding principles. The first section, obviously, structure and institutions. Well, how is our government divided? What are the branches of government? What I would do here is my first answer would be the Congress. That is one of the institutions within our U.S. government. And why is this important, or what document made the Congress possible? Well, the U.S. Constitution. You need to be careful in order that you are, first of all, understanding everything that you're writing and that everything is making sense as your teacher will be reviewing this. Now, the guiding principle behind the Constitution is that Americans believe strongly in a limited government. So why is this a limited government? Well, remember, the U.S. government is divided into 3 different parts. The Congress, in this case, the U.S. president, and lastly, the court system. And you need to be aware that those are structures and institutions within our government, and that is what you need to be focusing on here. And then you continue on filling in the other blanks. For example, another structure I could say it's, well, the court system, and then you can obviously reference back to either the Bill of Rights or why is there a court system as the guiding principles. Make sure that you answer this correctly and make sure that your teacher is understanding what you're writing. Now, part B of this activity is asking you, now compare your notes with different online resources about the government, including this resource. So if you haven't done any research yet, well, you can just click on the resource that is provided for you here, and you will find a whole bunch of information about the government. Now, how do your notes made in the table, the one that we have, that we just worked on, compare with the information you located in your online research? You need to provide a good paragraph here. By the way, when I say a good paragraph, I literally mean at least 5 good sentences. Please make sure that you don't write basically like a sentence or like 2 sentences to compare or complete this activity. Make sure you're thoughtful in your responses. Now we're on page 11 of the political systems tutorial, and here you have another activity that you need to do. You need to write at least, again, a good paragraph. And let me read what is being asked from you. Based on your own understanding and information in this lesson, what characteristics of the Confederate States of America made it a confederal government when compared to the government of the United States today? Again, you have to, if you're stuck on this, you have to go back to the other pages right before this, and you will have your answer. And as you know that initially, the United States did not have a government like we do today. The states were, in a sense, more powerful than the central government. The central government basically handled foreign topics, foreign issues, or national economic issues, but the ones that basically had the power were the states. So in itself, the central government was a weak government until the Constitution was adopted that made it basically a strong government, and a government that was fully directed and enforced by the United States Constitution. Please make sure that you're providing a good paragraph here. We are now moving on to page 17 of Political System Tutorial, and in this particular activity, you are basically given definitions to the left-hand side. As you can see here, all of these are definitions, and you are given keywords. And what you need to do is you need to plug in or drag these keywords or concepts and plug them in where they belong. For example, let's do the second one here. A single party rules and controls all aspects of society and everyday life. Okay, so we need to go up here and we have again a whole bunch of keywords, and you have monarchy, you have dictatorship, you have theocracy, oligarchy, and totalitarian governments. Well, if you think about it really careful, you have a single party rules and control all aspects of society and everyday life. And based on that information, I can deduct that in this particular definition, totalitarian would be your answer. And please make sure you continue doing the other ones and make sure that you are paying close attention to the definitions. If you're confused about the definitions, go back to this tutorial or research online the words and you should be able to find the answers. We are finally moving on to the last activity that you will be doing for this political systems tutorial, and this is about authoritarian governments. What you are doing here is you're basically talking about Nazi Germany and the Cambodian Khmer Rouge. You will be comparing basically both governments. You will be looking at the causes that made both of these governments rise to power. And let's read part A. In a 1 to 2 paragraph response, explain how the Nazis and the Khmer Rouge rose to power. Please look at the resources that have been given to you here, the Nazi Germany resource and the Khmer Rouge resource, and you will find an answer here. Please make sure, I always emphasize, it is better for you to write more and tell your teacher what you're understanding than not writing enough. So in this case, you're asked to write 2 paragraphs or at least 1 paragraph, but I highly encourage you to focus on 2 paragraphs. You use 1 paragraph to compare or talk about the Nazis, how they rose to power, and you use another paragraph to talk about the Cambodian Khmer Rouge. Again, we're focusing on how both of these governments were able to take control of their countries. Part B is asking you what similarities existed in the 2 countries that allowed the Nazis and the Khmer Rouge to gain power. Please make sure that based on what you've done, the reading, the links that were given to you, and based on what the tutorial told you on the previous pages, you need to talk about what were some of the similarities and what were some of the differences between both of these governments. For example, I could tell you that both countries had horrible economic conditions that gave rise to these dictators in taking control of the country and ultimately oppressing the people. And you know what? Once these people were in power, the people had no way of defending themselves, because remember, these dictators, they control the military, they control the police, so there's basically nothing that people could do up to a certain degree. And the last part of this activity is part C. What was life under the Nazis in the 1930s Germany and the Khmer Rouge in the 1970s Cambodia? How did the everyday lives of the citizens of each nation compare? Again, you have to go back and review the tutorial as well as the links that have been given to you in this particular activity. And you need to talk about how, in this case, did the Nazis in Germany and the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, how did they treat people? And I can tell you that both of them literally killed many people. If anybody talked about them, those people were basically dead. Please make sure that you're writing for each of these questions a good solid paragraph. And also make sure that you're writing, if it's asking you to write 2 paragraphs, make sure that you're writing 2 paragraphs. Do not give like 1 sentence, 2 sentences, and pretend that that's an answer. Please make sure you put in best effort. I will talk to you soon.